Hi, Mrs. Kennedy here. Today we are covering Unit 4, American Political Ideologies and Beliefs, Day 3, Political Socialization and Political Ideology. So before I get into all of the content, there are some important vocabulary words that I want us to go over. First is political socialization. And this is the process by which you gain your political attitudes and opinions. And this is not just a one-stop shop. This occurs every single day throughout your life, from the time you're born to the time that you die. All right, so your political attitudes and opinions can change over time. Your political ideology is once you have your political attitudes and opinions, you sort of fall somewhere on a political ideological spectrum. Right? And so that ideology is they take all of those beliefs and they sort of align in a certain part of the political spectrum. And then the other important term I want to talk about is political efficacy. And that's the belief that you can understand what's going on in our government and that your voice matters and that you can influence the government. And a lot of that usually happens through voting, political participation, attending rallies and protests and things of that nature. So the first thing I'm going to go over are the main things that influence someone's political socialization, right? What are those things that shape your political beliefs? So I like to call these the factors of political socialization. The biggest and most important factor of political socialization is your family. Your family sets that baseline set of beliefs. You're raised in your family. Maybe you go to church or you don't. Maybe you hunt, maybe you don't. All of those things influence how you're going to feel about the government and politics. So family is hands down the number one most important factor when determining your political beliefs or sort of shaping your political beliefs. If your parents identify as Republican or Democrat, you are going to be more likely to also identify the same way, right? Not guaranteed, but more likely that you might lean the same way. The second factor or agent of political socialization is education, especially within your social studies and English classes. All right, so in these courses, you get introduced to different life experiences, you read different texts, you analyze different philosophers and different influences, and those things can have an impact on your political beliefs. Third, I sort of grouped together your friends and social media. So discussions with friends may challenge your point of view on an issue. You're more likely to have engaged, meaningful conversations with your peers versus me here in class or even your parents. Okay? You might bring up something you saw in the news. Hey, did you see this headline? What do you think about that? Right? Your friends are probably going to be sort of the first thing that you look to sort of gauge opinions and beliefs on. Fourth would be religious beliefs. And it's not just like a specific religious belief. If you have religious beliefs, each major religion in the world has different positions on issues. And you hear those in sermons, you read them in your religious texts, you get those through social interactions with your clergy members. If you go to like a youth group on Wednesday, right, you might bring in current events in your conversations with the members of your youth group. Number 5 is called the generational effect. And it is the impact of a very specific event that occurs in someone's lifetime during the period where they would be developing political beliefs. All right, so for me, I'm a millennial. I was born in 1985. 9/11 is a really big generational effect for myself and my generation. All right, so the response to that, right, it's going to have a big impact on how I view foreign policy in our country. Right, it's an event that occurred. Other events that might occur for other generations, you could have Vietnam, the JFK assassination. For you all, your Gen Z, right, the COVID-19 pandemic would be a really great generational effect. It is an event, it's an ongoing event, but it is an event that is occurring that can shape how you feel about the government and what types of responses you think the government should be giving to that. The last major influence is called the life cycle effect. And this just means that as you go through different stages of your life, your viewpoints, your stances, your ideology might change and fluctuate. Right. You are going to be graduating and maybe going off to college, and so you might be more concerned about student debt. Right? How to pay for your college education. I'm in my 30s, so I've been there, done that. I'm more concerned about like healthcare costs, daycare costs. I'm concerned about like future education costs for my kids, but that's not something I'm going to be voting on like right now. It's going to be about like daycare costs, health coverage for my kids. My dad is in his 70s, right? So he's going to be more concerned about Medicare and Social Security and programs such as that. All right, so as you move through your life and you have different life experiences and you're going through different stages, your ideologies might change. And that is normal. All right, next, I'm going to go briefly over the 3 main ideologies that exist in our country. Yes, there are a lot of others. All right, I'm going to be going over liberalism, conservatism, and libertarianism. And again, I'm giving you sort of a broad idea of these ideologies. Okay, so the first is liberalism, where you have a lot of government involvement in economic affairs. Liberals want the government role in economics to be bigger. Increase taxes, especially on the wealthy and corporations. Increase the minimum wage. If we increase taxes, then we can pay for more goods and services that people need, such as Medicaid, WIC, Medicare, Social Security, veterans benefits, food stamps, etc. Okay, so very much government hands-on in the economy, but a lot more hands-off in terms of social issues, right? Remove the government out of things that the government shouldn't be involved in. Right? They would be considered pro-choice, right? Giving women the right to choose to have an abortion because the government shouldn't be involved in this. They would be in support of same-sex marriages because the government should not be involved in this. Okay? They would be in favor of same-sex couples being able to adopt, which is a very hard thing to do in this country because they don't think the government should be involved in this. Right? They're in favor of programs and policies that help a majority of people. All right, making sure that everyone receives adequate due process, opposing the death penalty, right? They want everybody to really have that equality of opportunity to succeed, right? That core value we talked about, equality of opportunity. They really want to make sure that that is the tenet of their beliefs, that everyone can be successful. Conservatives are sort of reversed, right? Get the government out of the economy. Lower or eliminate the minimum wage and let businesses decide for themselves what to pay their employees. Cut taxes, especially for the businesses, and follow that laissez-faire free enterprise model, right? Very government hands-off. Right, it's sort of that trickle-down economics theory. If you cut taxes at the top, and that gives businesses the opportunity to grow. If businesses grow, then they hire people, and then people have jobs. And if they have jobs, they have money to spend, and so on and so forth. All right, so get the government out of the economy, but get the government into social affairs. So they'd be considered pro-life, because they want to restrict the ability of a woman to have an abortion, stronger punishments for criminals. They're in favor of the death penalty, stricter drug policies, fewer regulations on firearms, so making it easier to own a handgun. And they'd be more likely to put in more money on defense spending programs, right? Keeping the country safe. And then the last ideology are libertarians, which pretty much has a big emphasis on individual liberty. So get the government out of the economy and get the government out of social issues. Right, they really want the focus to be on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. What does that document say that the government can and cannot do? And let's focus on that. So in terms of liberal issues, social issues, right, they're very liberal on social issues. Get the government out of the social stuff because the government shouldn't be there. They would be considered pro-choice. They would be in favor of like the legalization of marijuana because the Constitution doesn't say anything about regulation of drugs. They're also very hands-off in terms of economic issues. So they're very conservative there. They're in favor of the free enterprise system. They're in favor of free market healthcare where people get to pick and choose. Right, it's not sort of forced upon you. They're in favor of incredibly low taxes. So very hands-off social issues and very hands-off economic issues. All right, that's all I've got for today. I'll see you again next time. Have a good one. Bye.